hell is executive functions? So basically, the way that the brain works is you've got this sort of like inner section of the brain, which is your limbic system, which is basically everything that when we're talking about kind of millennia ago and the things that people needed, your like flight, freeze, and fawn response, or like your kind of hunger responses, all of these different kinds of things, they kind of all sit in here. Anything that kind of feels like very basic emotions. I guess the way to think about it, your prefrontal cortex comes online fully at 25. So anything that feels like adulting is all this stuff here. This is what we're talking about. This is executive functions. And this all comes in later. So the way you think about it is you've got the brain here, and then over the top lays your prefrontal cortex and your executive functions. And these parts here is what we're talking about today. So these evolve as we become adults, and as we kind of have evolved as humans as well. And so they are what are described as higher order functions, such as thinking and reasoning. So that's what we're talking about today. So any of the things that you struggle with neurodiversity, like planning, organization, time, emotions, like figuring out what went well and what didn't, this is all what we're covering here. So a lot of the work related challenges of dyslexia are linked to executive function challenges. So that's why this is a really useful piece of information for you to understand. Okay. So in terms of like recognizing whether or not these are for you or not, I think firstly, what I want to say is not everything will resonate with you. Lots will. But if you're like, that's not me, that's okay. It doesn't, not every single thing has to kind of really click for you. But if you're trying to figure out, is this me or is this not? Or is this something that's related to my challenges with my neurodiversity, or is it just like situational? It's the intensity of the frustration that you may have with it and the exhaustion after particular tasks that could make us feel like it's above the threshold of what might be normal. Also, generally, when we're looking at difficulties when it comes to making it dyslexia versus like everyone struggling with these, it's about depth of the challenge and also the amount of time you have struggled with this. So if like once in a while you're like, oh god, I find this really difficult, that's just finding things difficult. If you're like, over a lifetime I have found this significantly difficult, that's when we might know that it's some neurodiversity issue. So depth and consistency is really, really important to figure out whether or not this is something that resonates for you. And also, by the way, if anyone ever says to you about dyslexia and neurodiversity and they're like, oh yeah, I struggle with that too, obviously a lot of people are undiagnosed, and it's an important thing to say, but you can inform them that it's depth and consistency that makes it different for them.